Well, today was cleaning up the slash for this one tree. The rest of that I'll push on a pile and cover the stump over, and it'll make a place for the rabbits to hide. Well, you can see how muddy everything is here. So I'm gonna make an outline from outside my driveway, because I'll be putting stone in the driveway soon. And I'm gonna just put the chopped up slash, or the wood chips, so that I can walk around here without getting mud all over the place. Bullseye! No! Bullseye! No! Come on! All these rocks here are had nice and piled up sort of neatly, and they got all ruined from plowing and hitting them and stuff. So usually every spring I clean up here anyway. Everything's still got frost in it. I just want to get this mud covered over. If you put stone down, the problem with stone is that when you run the heavy equipment over it, all it does is push the stone down into the dirt anyway. You end up with mud by the end of the season. So there's no sense in paying for the stone when you can use this stuff. You can figure that with a 60-foot high pine tree that you can get a normal sized pine, maybe I guess 22, 24 inches in diameter. You can get yourself a pickup truck load from my little chipper that I have. From a pickup truck load of chips from the slash from a log or from a tree that big. So if you keep that in mind, you know, it just gives you a little bit of extra savings. One thing for certain, you can't beat the smell of the wood. That's for sure. Need to back up a little bit. I'm gonna go up and start to clean up some more slash, and you'll see the tree, I just cut down another tree. I just show you how I figure out what length to cut a tree for the mill. Bullseyes just keep on going, keeping on. This is another tree I cut down this morning. You're looking at probably around 40 feet there left from it. I cut the top off so the road would be open. I'm going to turn around and then I'm going to clean up some of the slash while I cut the branches off. Alright, so you can see it's a pretty nice sized tree here. I know there's nothing to compare it to, but I'll give you something in a minute here. So there's one of my gloves. I guess you're looking at a good 28 inches there. And the tree's fairly straight. What I do when I come up to something like this, first you want to check and see if there's any kind of holes where maybe some ants may have gone through. This one looks nice and sound. So what you want to do with this, now with the tree being up off the ground here, obviously there's going to be stress on those branches. You can see that one's cracked from the stress, and these other ones are holding this up. So you got to be careful when you go to cut this that the tree doesn't roll on you. But the important thing for me is the lengths that I get out of this. Now, you know, if you look at the tree, I would say, let's see here, yeah, somewhere about right in here would be an ideal spot to cut it, because you got straight all the way down, and then from there you've got at least a 16-footer there of all straight tree, and then maybe an 8-footer at the other end. So it looks like it might be a 12, a 16, and an 8. So I'm going to have to check that out once I get all the branches cut off of it. But for now, since I have the chipper on the back of the truck, what I'm interested in is getting the slash that's already been cut off cleaned up. So there's a pile over there, a little bit here and there. I'm going to clean that stuff up now, get it out of the way, and then I'll start cutting some branches off these trees. And then there's one more pine tree there, the one that's out to the left. Where are we at here? I think this one where my finger is. He'll probably want that one out of there yet. And then there's a couple inside the property that he told me he wants cut down. So that's what I'm doing today. I got to start figuring out when I'm going to be able to start to cut on the sawmill. This weather is not bad. Right now it's not bad to cut because it's nice and sort of warm. Or it's not warm, but it's like in the 40s. So when it's in the 40s and you're working like this, it's actually nice temperature to work. Fixing the legs on this tripod. Okay. So we're going to start up the chipper. I probably should have left it turned around, but it's not that big of a deal because it feeds from the right hand side there. Bullseye, where are ya? Well, we're getting there. Most of the branches are off the tree, a couple on the top there, and then bottom ones that are cradling the tree up. I'm going to get them cut off then as soon as I can. Probably won't happen today because the truck's almost full. And Bullseye is pretty tired, I think. Well, I finished putting that wood chips down there, and it certainly got rid of the mud, or at least hid it, so it shouldn't be so muddy to walk in it. You can see it's starting to flurry maybe a little bit there. We're supposed to get snow tonight. I don't know how much. This government weather people said light snow. I don't know if that means light in weight, light amount of like a dusting, because the last time they said heavy snow, it was wet snow. I have no idea how much we're gonna get, but anyway, this is the one I cut down today. It's pretty heavy at the one end there. It's at least 28 inches, and it wasn't very tall though. There's probably, I think, around 32 feet of lumber there that I can get out of that thing. You can see the branches were pretty big on it. It was reaching out for sunlight, but it wasn't getting very tall. The good thing about it is there's a lot of, probably a 12-footer, a 16, and an 8. I think I can get out of that thing, and that should do pretty well. I got to finish cleaning up the slash here tomorrow. If it doesn't snow. If it snows, I got to do other stuff. I had enough of this chips and stuff to get pretty far here. As soon as I get this wood out of here, I'll put some over in here. But for right now, that looks good, and there's no mud there to contend with. Guys, I wanted to tell you something about myself so that you maybe can understand why I do what I do. When I make these brackets to go around here, and clamps, and my jigs for cutting siding, and the quarter sawn jigs that I make, just so you know, the reason that I never weld anything to the Woodmizer, I never weld anything. I've drilled one hole, which is right there, because I needed to have my shingle cutter bolted and held in place, and I didn't have any other way to do it. And if I thought about it now, I would, but I didn't think too much about it. I just put a bolt hole in it. But the reason I do not weld anything onto the Woodmizer is this. I have a car collection, and I know that from collecting cars, that if you change anything on the car, it becomes less valuable. It doesn't matter what it is. You think you're putting something on there that's, you know, exactly what the car should have, and depending upon who the buyer is, even the size tires can make a big difference in whether a car has been, you know, restored properly or is from new. So that same attitude, and I'm not saying that it's good to have it all the time, but it's ingrained in me. That same attitude is why I don't weld anything to the Woodmizer, because if I ever decide to sell this, I want to sell it as it came from the factory, you know, except for some wear and tear. Other than that, I don't want to weld onto it. I don't want to drill any more holes in it or bolt anything. You know, bolting things to it, like those clamps I made, is one thing, but to take and weld stuff in there, it would be very easy to weld stops, you know, on the side of this with one tube inside of another, drill a hole, put a nut, weld a nut on, and put a T-handle, and, you know, be able to put stops on the sawmill. But that's not the point. The point is that I want to do it without destroying the originality of the sawmill. And the only reason I do that is because I've gotten used to doing it from all the cars that I've collected. And, you know, when I go to sell them, I need them to bring me the amount of money I paid or more. And I can't do that if things have been changed on the car. A lot of times, you know, guys would think, well, you know, if I put four-wheel disc brakes on a old car, that's really going to be a good thing. Well, it probably is for the braking of the car, but it's not for the value of the car. So that's why I do what I do with these different jigs and stuff. Because there's a whole lot of other things that you could do if you just welded straight on to the Woodmizer. But I don't want to do that, because if I sell this and buy a bigger one, I want to make sure that it is what it was when it came from the factory, as close as can be. I thought you just might want to know that. Have a good one.